knowing, making connections and knowing people is half of what music's about. Like in my opinion, at least for like the business stance. But yeah, it is a big clout fest.
It's a very like clicky community. I mean, it's great. There's really I'm not like bashing hardcore at all. Like I really think it's a good, there's a lot of good things coming out of it, and I think it's nice that there's, especially because it seems like there's a hardcore scene everywhere, like everywhere. And in California, I mean, there is something there, and I do support the bands that are from our area because it's just because I mean there is some good stuff coming out, but on the downside, you know, I do feel like maybe some. I just don't like that elitist mindset that you have everything has to sound a certain way, or like it just because it's not to your liking, now it's shit.
You think there's like a too cool for school attitude?
Definitely.
Hell yeah.
Definitely.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
There
I guess
is.
that's the best phrase for it.
But is there community inside of the
There is.
hardcore?
There is.
So-
No, because I've been in situations where I've met people who you can say like they're in that hardcore scene that are really nice guys and I have no issue with them, and then there's others that, kind of just come off as like, I don't know you, you're not part of my group, don't talk to me.
Yeah, because I guess like when you're first coming into like the hardcore scene, it kind of seems like it's supposed to be a safe place for people, and like a lot of people that got into hardcore and started like dressing differently. I think I'd say more than half of those people came from backgrounds where they were like the outsider in school, or they were like the outcast in their class, or they were picked last on teams, and hardcore is a good place for, to feel welcomed and stuff, but
But then it kind of flips.
it does flip, and then there's even cliques in that.
It's like kind of like the motive for being the outcast kind of like contradicts itself in the sense that it just becomes what all
They
the
were
people
running
like, yeah, like people were trying to avoid from. But it's funny, but it's like I said, this the actual like music that comes out of this community, it's good. There's
Yeah.
So, as like a bigger question, you guys are Lakuna. What kind of band are you guys? And so, wait, that was bad. We're gonna take this out in editing. I want you guys to say, who are you guys? What kind of band are you guys? And where are you from? Just the band name. I'll do the like individual thing. Like I want to get a shot of you guys each in the sun, and then I'll like do that. But just say the band name and then yeah.
Okay.
all right.
Just like a brief bio.
Yeah.
Well, we're Lakuna, from Southern California, and I always jumble my words whenever I try to describe us. But what would you say?
I guess I would say that we definitely, fall in on a very broad spectrum. I guess you can say that we fall into like the punk or maybe post-hardcore genre. Even though I think the three of us know, and the people who do listen to us know, that it's quite more than that. But to just put it in a brief description, I would say that we definitely fall into like the punk / post-hardcore genre of things.
And right now, the post-hardcore punk community, how would you guys describe it? Like its general state?
I would. I just like came up with this term. I never really spoke about it, but I would like describe it as a alternative hardcore. And as stupid as that sounds, I feel like it makes sense because
It does.
yeah, because I mean our music, there's just different types of material being added into a song. Every song sounds different, and it has different different approaches to it.
Yeah.
So I feel like alternative hardcore would make so much sense.
Alternative hardcore. It's just as a person that's outside of it, it does sound like a lot. But wait, question though. So for the music that you have put out, if you were to put it into one genre, that is what was your last body of work?
Conflict of interest.
Right. What would you put that conflict of interest into? Like what box, what genre?
Since we had to, like, literally pick a box, it gives us two options to go off of what we think it is, and then basically whoever reviews the music, either that where it goes into the distributors like Apple Music and Spotify, pretty much with all the releases we've done, which is 2, and then the singles, they always get put into alternative.
Tell us about that. guys had to pick a box?
Yeah. So like whenever we distribute the albums, um, it would have us pick what we think it is, and then it it gives us a good amount of options for what we think of ourselves. So, like it would go into just rock, hard rock, alternative, post hardcore, and I believe hardcore is on there as well. But in general, we almost always get put into alternative, and I think that's kind of cool because it's kind of I think it's kind of a gateway of just someone saying like I don't know what the fuck this is, and I'll just pick this.
So you got. Oh, sorry.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, the genre talk, we can go on about this forever. It's
know.
because there's so many elements like just coming, not just in
Yeah.
our music, but just in music in general,
Mm-hmm.
that I try to not pay attention to it too much. I mean, I don't have anything against them. Genres are there to just give you an idea of what you're listening to, but at the same time, I feel like they don't really matter that much. That's just my opinion. I mean, no, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's fine. They're there for a reason.
It's all just music.
It's all just music, right? And as long as I'm able to, you know, put our name into something that we all enjoy and we all
Yeah.
like making, and solely just for that, I'm happy.
So I just really want to just start at the beginning a little bit here, like in the middle, but at the beginning.
Mhm.
Can you guys each name what you do for the band? You are the just like that.
Yeah. I'm Alex. I'm the guitarist and vocalist for Lakuna.
I'm Eddie. I play drums.
And I'm Slider. I play bass.
So you guys' talents are pretty spread out. Guitar, drums, bass. How was the recording for this last album different from your previous work? How did you guys come together for Conflict of Interest?
I mean, in comparison to the first one, conflict of interest for us was very relieving. I think as a whole, it was stressful, like recording, but I think it should be. You know, you're putting in work to get work, and for the likes of you, it was just kind of like, I guess, very linear. I guess is the best way I can explain it in my head. And conflict of interest just had a big array of things going on. That's just what I think of it.
I would say the difference between those. Well, Conflict of Interest was the first time that the three of us, went into a studio, like an actual studio, because the EP prior to that, For the Likes of You, that was made at home. We recorded that in our garage or in Eddie's garage, and we just did it ourselves, and we did the best that we could with what we had. And I do like it. I feel like it was, it needed to happen, right? And Conflict of Interest, right when we actually started writing that, and it just felt a lot more streamlined. It was stressful, yeah. I mean, there is always stress in work in general, but in the end, I do believe it was a really good product.
So, question: what was that studio experience like versus recording in a garage?
It was fun.
Yeah, it was fun, but it was also the first time recording in an actual studio, and I felt like most of us felt pretty nervous for it,
Yeah.
A little bit nervous, yeah, because we found this. First of all, the studio is called Love Juice. It's actually not an actual studio. I mean, it is an actual studio, but it's this guy's back house somewhere in Riverside, and he just turned the entire back house into a studio. I mean, it sounds funny, but it was there, and it was.
This dude's a legend though. Like he recorded Travis Barker's drums, like a lot of his
Yeah.
tracks.
Dave Swanson, yeah.
He did Slayer, I think too.
He did Panic at the Disco.
Panic at the Disco.
He's done Panic, Saleston. He's done some stuff with Metal Blade Records and a couple other
Describe
labels.
The setting of this place, Love Juice. It sounds.
Yeah, Love Juice
sounds
Labs.
lit.
Okay, yeah. So if I were to describe it, just imagine like a backyard where it has a lot of dirt and stuff, a little bit of grass, but it has two back houses. One is the actual studio, and there's like wooden panels that are covering the windows
Mm-hmm.
with an AC in there somewhere, and also there's like separate rooms for separate recordings. Like there's a separate room for drums, separate room for guitar, separate room for vocals.
Mm-hmm.
It was
so everything is pretty spread out.
Said it by one guy.
Yeah, one guy.
One guy
One guy
does the
does
whole
it all.
thing,
Yeah. So
He's been doing it for a long time.
uh-huh.
How do you guys think that the studio vibe rubbed off on conflict of interest? Like, what did that?
I would actually say this before we went into the studio. I was like, the environment you're around, the place you end up recording, it is gonna affect how the record's gonna sound once it's done, because your environment, your surroundings, the people you're around, and how you feel in that area is going to affect how you perform on that.
How did it affect you guys? I mean, did it make you bite harder for like performances? Did it make you like pull in deeper for writing? Where did you guys write? How did you guys write? What was the writing process like for conflict of interest? And how long did it take?
We actually started writing before For the Likes of You came out. We already started writing some new stuff. Observant's a pretty old idea. That one we wrote. That existed like probably like February of 2017. So even before we really put anything out, even before the Hoof single, it's like the first thing we put out, and then everything else kind of just came right after the release of For the Likes of You,
Okay.
and it
So
just
like a time span, like a year spent, like if you could,
I think a good year was spent on pretty much finalizing conflict of
but like
interest.
from what month to what month?
probably from
I guess like
like
disregarding observant. So
yeah.
I'd say from around April. Or I mean, it started coming up in March, like this new sound of us. I think, and I think from March to when were we going to the studio? August,
June.
To June.
June.
Actually, it's been like almost a year since we've been in the studio already. So
And do you guys all write together? Do you guys write separately and then pull it all in?
usually how it goes about is that one of us will come up with like a riff idea, usually Slider Eye, and I guess I can only speak for like how I typically write, but I'll usually write a riff, maybe with another riff, and kind of connect it, sort of make kind of like a half-ass song, and show it to the guys, and then once we do that, then we'll really like work with it. And
Yeah, we try not to limit ourselves to, like if we're at work, if we're hanging out with someone else, and we think of our ideas like individually, we'll try to send it to each other and see what we can spark off of it.
What kind of, because the music is like angsty, it's boyish, it's celebratory of like, not celebratory, I don't know if it's celebratory, but it's definitely embedded in youth. It's youth energy for sure. So it's like, what kind of experiences go into like, you guys' writing? Like, what makes you guys want to write what you guys do? You know what I mean? Because it's like a lot of music that's very, I mean, it's emotional sounding, even if you can't quite understand what is being said, So it's like,
Right.
what makes you guys get into that, I guess, bag is the word I would use.
a lot of it comes down into
Is it love? Is
How-
it lust? Is it
uh,
the world?
I don't know, kind of. I guess the root of it starts from maybe not liking a situation that you're in, or like a situation that you wanting to do, be in a better place. I guess that, and I guess in the lyrics when we started writing that was kind of the motive, like kind of a conflict of interest, wanting what's best for you, but at the same time not really knowing where to start, or not really knowing if you should make that next move.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool about conflict of interest, is that let's say it was about love. It's not about love. It's about like what comes after it, and then if it's about lust, it's what comes after lust. It's kind of like the aftermath of whatever emotion you can put into it.
So, percentage-wise, how did it break down with the writing? Kind of.
For lyrics,
Yeah. And then also,
um,
who arranges the song structure? Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like a lot of, I mean, you guys are really timed well. I don't know how to
Thank
explain
you.
it, but it's
Yeah,
it's like
thanks.
you expect something to drop or to hit you, and then it does.
okay.
So it's like, who's behind that?
It, I'd say like 80% of it has to do with when Alex or Slider come in with a riff, and yeah. So like they're already pretty good about having that being structured before we even go into sparking jams off each other.
Yeah. Typically, I guess conflict, it was a little bit different in the sense that like we were actually all able to just write together. Like we had a lot of time in our hands at the time, so we were able to just sit in a room and just write all the songs together and really understand each structure. So we had to go over those songs so many times just to like, to the point where we got sick of them, and then
Yeah.
and then when we recorded them, we're like, oh, we love these again. But then, so with practice and all that, just you have to it gives you a better understanding of like you have to understand the song, and it just becomes like you learn it by heart. And
Yeah.
but in terms of the writing and who does the structuring, in the beginning, like I said, usually like not every song because it depends on everything, but let's say half of the time I'll come through with a riff and have some sort of structure, and then come through with the band and we'll kind of work off that structure. But then I want to hear their input as well.
Yeah.
I don't, because the band is not just one of us. It's not just no, yeah. It's the three of us. The three of us are what make this band this band. So usually we'll come through. I'll come through with a riff and we'll structure it, and then from there. I didn't even notice that. Well, the three. And then once I show the song to the two of them, we'll jam it out. Then we really kind of say like, okay, everything's good on this song except what this part could be better, or what can we do?
And then you just tweak it. Sorry.
Yeah, we just tweak it, and then from there on out we decide, okay, are we gonna use this or not? And that's how Conflict is decided.
I'm gonna ask a little bit more about the tour later, but I kind of want to break in with this one now. What's been the song on Conflict of Interest that gets the biggest reaction out of a crowd? That just by far, it just as soon as you guys get that one going, you know you have to go in because, yeah.
I feel like Observant would probably have the most, it'll get the crowd moving for sure, but I feel like when I see a crowd that doesn't move, I just like go in and just, fuck the crowd up. I just push everyone, just to get it moving.
Yeah.
So I feel like Observant's always that song where I just go in and just like push everyone. And that usually gets it going.
Yeah. Like even if we start with it, Slider won't care and he'll push himself into a crowd and stuff. And it really sets the vibe.
Yeah,
And
but
energy goes up from there.
yeah,
straight up.
It varies song by song because sometimes we'll play in crowds where some people like Poor Terms better, or some people like Observant or Charm, or it doesn't really matter. But I feel like lately, the past couple shows, Poor Terms has been getting a lot of attention. It's the last song of the album.
Which
It's
one?
like
Sorry.
Poor Terms. Yeah, that one has been. I know the last show we did and the show before that, they did get a good amount of attention, which is,
And to just kind of go back to the actual album itself, I think, yeah, like I said before we started, it's either going to be 2 or Return to Sender. That's got my favorite melody. I know, like, I did some notes. I know that Return to Sender, like the instrumental break at the end. No, because that's no. Return to Sender is the one with the harmonizing vocals. The whoa, whoa. No. The 2 has to be the one with like that nice instrumental break at the end. I really enjoy that song.
I actually think you got them swapped out by the
Do I?
2. Yeah, 2 is the short 1 minute, just kind of like in your face song, and then
the instrumental break at the end.
oh, the little like the sample you're referring
No,
to.
not the sample, but rather it's just literally what the bass, some drums.
Yeah,
and it's
that's
just-
Return to Sender. Yeah.
But that's the end of it.
Yeah, it's like
Oh yeah.
first half of the song is just like an actual like verse and chorus, and then the end is like a instrumental breakdown.
I forgot about that.
What do you
I
guys
missed
think
that
was the
song.
most catchy, like melody on the record? What song just is in you guys' head always? I mean, is it Observant, the obvious one, or?
Put in mind. Put in mind
yeah.
sticks.
I was gonna say Put in Mind as well. What about you?
I was gonna say Put in Mind too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Put in Mind. I would say is probably the song that it's either Poor Terms or Put in Mind. If the people who have listened to it as a whole, like I would say those 2 songs usually I get a lot of attention about. Like people tell me like, oh, Put in Mind this, Put in Mind that, or Poor Terms. Like those are usually 2 of people's like most favorite tracks, which I'm pretty happy about. And Put in Mind, yeah, I mean it's just from the riff to the lyrics to the melodies and everything, it just works. And it was like a pretty easy song to write too. Once we kind of just wrote the riff, everything else came along with it.
Well, let's switch gears a little bit here. Let's talk about County Fair, tour, all that good stuff. And you guys' just quick summation. What was the best show on tour as far as energy?
The kickoff was pretty fun.
Where was that?
In Pomona, actually, it was here. It was the first time we ever hosted our own show. We headlined, we ran it, we basically, yeah, we were the ones that ran that show, and it was cool because I didn't really know what the outcome was gonna be. I was like, okay, we're gonna host a show. We know we can do it, but how are we gonna get there? And like, or not how are we gonna get there, but like what is the outcome gonna be? And it ended up being a lot better than I had expected.
How so? Like, describe the crowd.
A lot of people showed up. There was
Give me a number, like over 50.
I would say there, yeah,
Wow.
they're about
And what was the pit like?
It was pretty
open.
insane.
It was pretty intense.
I just saw like
Lord.
cornered and then a circle and then just people in the back. Like so.
What was the crowd reaction after the show though? Like a lot of sweaty bodies just piling.
Yeah.
on you guys,
Yeah.
pretty
Ah
much?
shit. My
Some
foot
guy
fell
jumped
asleep.
off the roof.
Oh yeah.
You guys just said it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
Twice.
Twice.
Actually.
Yeah.
So
Like-
describe how that would happen. Like,
What song was it doing?
how do you do like and then
Observant or
Observant?
no.
What?
Yeah.
The new one.
He climbed on the shed and he just
Oh.
jumped off. I was like, and look, I saw it from the corner of my eye and I was like,
Yeah.
damn.
So then, like, I was like, after that point, I was a little more on guard. So like, I was looking up more again, and I see him do it again. This dude definitely rolled his ankle or something.
Mm-hmm.
He ate it.
so what was the venue again?
It's a place called the Avenue. It's actually our friend Johnny's little yard. And
And it was the first show.
Mhm.
first show of the tour, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
This had a good vibe for the tour.
yeah. I guess outside of where we're from, Portland was also a lot of fun because we knew nobody in that area, and the people who were in there, the people who did stay, they really liked us. And you know, any time that we get to play in front of people that we don't know and they end up liking us is always a good thing.
That might be a good segue. Where was the farthest that you guys traveled for this tour so far? And are you guys still on it, by the way?
No.
On what?
Okay,
On
so
tour?
the tour's
No.
over.
Yeah,
tour's
the
over,
tour is
yeah.
over.
But where was the farthest you guys went for it?
It was Portland. Yeah. Yeah. That was probably our favorite city as well. Just like outside of the show, like the show was amazing, the people are amazing, and we just had a really fun time there, like with ourselves. We got to stay in a hotel for 2 nights there, and it just really felt like home. Not to mention there was like a really great Mexican restaurant across the street that was open for 24 hours.
Shout out to Muchas Gracias.
Muchas gracias. Exactly, and yeah, whatever we did, we were able to walk there and get some munchies.
That's what's up. Okay, so back to the shows. How are you guys preparing for shows? Like, what do you guys do? Any rituals? Any like vocal remedies? Anything?
When I have the chance, yeah, I do. It's probably it's always best to warm up a little bit. Sometimes it's sometimes it's just a rush, and we get to the venue late, and we're like, oh shit, I don't have time to warm up, so we'll.
Yeah.
Usually we'd like to just do a practice before, then usually kind of have like an hour or two of just I guess relaxing before you do the show. And then from there, I think usually we don't. I wouldn't say we have like a specific ritual, but I think there's a routine that like okay, like get to the show early, or like get to go practice first, relax for a little bit, set up, then play the show.
How long did it? Well, really, what have you guys learned by just going around the country a little bit, or just the states and the country? Well, yeah, the country. What have you guys learned? Like, what have you guys picked up from doing it? What have you guys? What would you say that you just didn't know, and then now it's just like, yeah, you have to do that on tour? Something like
That's a good question. That gets me thinking. No, that's good. I don't know. What first comes to my mind is like how much freedom I felt like I had. Like it just didn't feel like I was in California or in any other state really. It just kind of felt like I was kind of gone from our normal like circle day-to-day basis, it was really great. Tour definitely isn't a vacation, but we got to feel some sort of freedom in there, and some of our stops were really comforting with some friends that we have around the country. But as
as far as learning.
as far as like a moral lesson, something like that, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I would say that what would feel more like home is
No, like a lesson that tour like made us learn.
What did you learn this tour?
well, what I learned from tour is that I don't know, cause like I didn't really think about this. What I learned from tour, That's interesting.
Have a schedule, I guess, like with drivers and sleepers.
Oh, I
That's a
know.
good idea.
Organize. Be
Yeah.
organized.
That's just literally what he just said.
It's good to keep the van clean. That's a really big one.
Yeah.
Keeping the because hygiene is important, right?
Hygiene's important, but especially when you're rushing to a show and the drumsticks are in the front seat and the whole rest of the kit's in the back or in the trailer, you got to move stuff out. It becomes a mess. So organization is generally what it showed us.
And generally, I'm sorry, you go.
No, it's alright. Go ahead.
How do you guys feel about being able to just leave where you're from to play your music? Like straight up for that. I mean, have you guys been getting paid? But how do you guys feel?
Unfortunately, when you do start out, a lot of what you make is based on like what you're selling, like merch, tapes, stuff like that. That's how a lot of local bands do make their money. Because venues, some will pay, some don't. It really just depends. But when you're really starting out, the main motive has to be the music. Your main motive should not be I want to get paid.
But how do you guys feel about being able to at least, even if you're not, just going out to just spread your music to other people? How does that feel?
It feels great because had we not put out Conflict, we wouldn't have been able to, or had not even just Conflict, but just being a band, we wouldn't have been able to tour. Because
Yeah.
without that, then we had no reason to go out there. But we went out there with a purpose, and I think that's good enough.
What's the growth been like since you went on tour? How much have you guys grown, at least in your presence and all?
I think communication wise, like we did really good on tour. It was fun. Like generally speaking, there were really no problems like as far as like financial issues or like any breakdowns of the van, or we did have we did have one show where it fell through the roof, but
Which one was that?
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara, yeah. It was supposed to be a house. It's supposed to be a house party, and
So it's if if you're watching this and you don't really know Santa Barbara and like slash Isla Vista and Goleta, it's a big college community town slash
Party City.
Raver
Yeah.
Town.
Yeah, like anyone there is definitely like under 25, like or 30 at least. But it's a big beach city. Everyone's riding around on scooters or longboards and bikes, and just there's bars everywhere.
It's
Yeah,
just a
drugs.
stereotypical beach city.
It's
That's-
fun.
that's
There's
all.
a lot of nice people.
But it fell through the roof.
Yes, because that week was what holiday was it? Or
Spring break.
oh, spring break. So instead of people being there, no one really wants to be in their college town in spring break. They want to go to Miami or at least go back to see their family because they have the chance. So almost everyone was gone, and the house party that was supposed to happen was like really dead, and it was just a really weird vibe at house.
No power.
I really thought you were going to talk about like just a terrible situation, like maybe somebody drunk came and they started punching people, or I don't know. But hey, it did show. Oh, okay. Wow.
No, there wasn't too many like.
There was a shaman.
Oh yeah, the house is supposed to play at. There was just a full ass shaman there.
It was
Was it
like
a robe?
Yes.
yeah, he was
Yes.
in a robe. He had a
With
stick.
like the shoulder off. It was amazing.
Shamans and the road, man. Okay, let's kind of switch gears a little bit. What kind of thoughts do you guys think? What kind of thoughts do you guys have about the success you guys have seen? What kind of success do you want to have? I mean, are there any goals in mind? Anything at all? What kind of success are you looking for?
I still think we have a long way to go. I'm really happy that we are able to gain a following with what we're doing. Because in my mind, even though we feel like we've done a tour, we've already released 2 EPs. We still have a lot to do, but I feel like right now we're building our foundation. So like when, for as long as we just keep doing what we're doing and just showing just writing what we're writing and people keep following what we're doing and liking what we're making,
Yeah.
we're gonna be just fine. Yeah, and however big Lakuna will end up, I mean, if people like what we're listening to, I'm happy.
So there's no like, I guess, place that you guys want to get to or anything like that. It's really just the ability to be able to make music and people like
That yeah, I mean that should be the motive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, like we've seen where our first EP took us, and then our second one, and I just want to keep it going, and wherever it takes us, I just want to keep pushing harder within it, which each and every release.
Anything you guys want to say, like kind of off the wall? Anything else? I'm kind of pretty much done with all my questions here.
I don't know. Just as a goal in general, I do want to, like, with the help of with the what's it called, the outreach we get as a band. I want to be able to create a better community. Not that anything's bad with any scenes that like we're a part of, but that's also a thing. There's a stigma, and I don't want to stick to one thing or say we're a part of one thing. We've always had like this kind of desire to let like the IE scene grow, and we didn't realize like how much we could help with that until like we played Rialto again after like not playing it for a while and being in Orange County for a while. And there was a lot of people that came out, like a lot, and they were screaming our lyrics.
So tell us about that. That was at Rialto High.
Yeah. Oh yeah, even Rialto High. But even including house shows as well in Rialto.
Oh,
Mhm.
my bad.
You're good. Everything good?
Love this camera. House shows in Rialto. People are screaming your lyrics. What was that homecoming like? Homecoming.
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 That's not a song you guys have out.
No.
No. Sleep on Rialto.
No. I mean, because for a while, a lot of people in the scene in IE, there's always that stigma like, oh, there isn't anything in IE, or people outside of IE, they're like, oh, there's shit there, just shitty house shows, and that they're not wrong, but at the same time, I do think that what. What happened? Oh, okay.
Weird, strange energy. You guys are a whole unit.
Yeah.
It's immediately noticeable.
Thank
you.
And, I think it's gonna take you guys farther. That and the fact that you're not doing this for anything that's like that I can see.
Yeah.
You're just doing it for stuff that's
Thank
in
you.
each one of you guys. What's up?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know what the fuck he's fidgeting about.
Slider, question.
Answer.
How was life?
Life is great right now. Just trying to get everything together for college. Just chill.
Oh, yeah, Slider's going back to school.
Yep.
A man.
Everyone has goals. They have goals outside of music. You guys are great, man. Okay. Anything else? Literally, we can talk about whatever. The stigma, right? I wanted to ask about that. The stigma, and then wiping it off with coming back to Rialto. Sorry about that.
Right. Yeah. Just when we started Lakuna, and when the IE scene kind of wasn't one, and if there was, it was just kind of like just a few guys getting together and just getting passed out drunk, and that's pretty much the night. But
That's true.
yeah, I mean, it's unfortunately that was the case a couple of years back
What kind
when
of beer do you think they would be drinking?
Rolling Rowgh.
Mickey's and Rolling Rowgh. That's like the quintessential like malt liquor for
Alternative shows.
IE
Yeah.
shows. Yeah, doesn't really matter who's playing. You're gonna see a fucking box of Rolling Rock just
Crushed
crushed
Rolling
on the floor,
Rock.
crushed in dirt.
The thing about the IE scene, like if as I said before, like if you don't know, it was thriving for a long time, and
Vertigo Volumes.
Yeah,
Sis
Vertigo
shows.
Volumes, Sis shows. There's a lot of media outlets for it, and like Clash City Studios, this place in Riverside that eventually got shut down. There was always this one house on Laurel Avenue in Pomona. That one also just stopped doing shows. There was a lot of just birthday party shows that would get really, really lit. But the Red Pears, Beach Bums, High Curbs,
Yeah.
all those bands like really made a name for the Inland Empire,
Yeah.
and it was fun. Like
And now
every
they're
weekend.
playing. Now they're packing Observatory. They're
Yeah.
like if Red Pear's at Observatory, like, will pack the place.
Thing
Anytime they play around our area.
they just got on Coachella, I believe,
So
last year.
tell me about the role you guys think you're playing, or no, think. Tell me about the role you guys are playing in reviving that.
I feel like
How does that feel?
for a while we tried to avoid it because, well, not avoid it, but just we always thought like there's nothing
There's
there.
not a place for us.
So like
yeah.
we have to migrate somewhere else where the scene is more thriving, such as like OC or LA, And those two places, they have their scene, and that's perfectly fine. But rather than, I guess we just kind of didn't really tell ourselves it, but once we came to terms with it, we were like, hey, we did a couple IE shows, and we just thought like, hey, you know what? People like us here, and people are willing to come out for us despite of what area we're from. So rather than trying to, avoid or try to like, I mean, yes, play the other areas as well because it's more exposure in the end, yeah. But at the same time, I guess it comes back to that old saying like, don't forget where you came from. I just feel like that kind of falls into place here because now we have done a couple IE shows, and since there really isn't like an established venue, they've been house shows, which is fine. I mean, because people are liking what we're doing, and I just it's good that we're able to kind of bring it back somewhat, and it's definitely evolved. Like some of the bands that are out there right now, like in IE scene, like Eras and was the other one Mai, like
My,
those
yeah.
bands, like there's definitely a lot of
Shout out to them.
yeah, they're a beautiful band. They're beautiful bands. But yeah, no, it's really good that my
MAI.
it's really good that we're able to see not just typical like backyard show bands like yeah, if you want to do it to have fun, that's cool. But there's some real talent that's coming out from the areas that we're from, and we just want to embrace that, just like showcase that. If
And I think you guys are doing at least a better than decent job at it, man. I mean, it's at least because it's like you go to your shows, there's really people treating you guys like, I don't want to say the word real band because it's like you guys are a real band.
Yeah,
man.
no, I
Like,
understand you.
really. And
Mhm.
it's like that difference between the backyard show. It's like, okay, the XLR cord's plugged there. Nobody did a sound check. It's fucking just noise.
Yeah.
Literally.
right,
It's noise to drink
So-
to. Like for a lot of people, it would just be noise to drink to.
it's an excuse to leave their house Friday
God.
night.
Noise to drink.
You started it, man. You started the sentence, and I made it.
Right.
But yeah, and you guys are not that.
Thank
So,
you.
No, and we've gone there. I remember one time we got a reaction. We played a Rialto show I think last summer, and I don't think Conflict of Interest had come out yet. But we were already starting to play stuff from it. They heard us, and someone came up to us and they're like, you guys aren't, you're not like what comes out from here. And they're like, where are you guys from? I was like, we're from here, from Rialto, and they're like, it's like, yeah, that was that was good, but it's like, it just, you guys caught me by surprise because we don't hear stuff like that here.
I can agree, man. You guys have that effect. So with all that said, what's next for Lakuna? Like, what at least, okay, if we're not going for any big goal, but what is immediately next for us? What can you tell us?
Writing and recording.
Yeah.
In less than a month, we'll be doing something. I don't know if you guys want to say anything else, but
We're going to the studio. To just put it like
Yeah.
in a flat, like I guess just say it. We'll definitely have some new stuff out by fall, definitely.
and we're getting pretty twisty with it. I mean, we've never really put ourselves in boundaries before, but after having like a base and a foundation with Conflict of Interest and getting like a lot more supporters and listeners, and with all the feedback included, it's nice to be able to receive feedback that lets us be comfortable with more comfortable with writing, and I think with this new stuff, it's gonna be pretty cool. I like the twist that we did on it.
Can I at least ask, are you guys gonna go back in for another EP? Something longer? Can you divulge that or no?
Yeah, we can. I mean, it's not really an EP, but it has been almost. It's been about a year since we went into Conflict and Ventures for the studio, or that was really shitty how I said that. Hold on. Okay, hold on. It's been almost a year since we went into the studio to record Conflict of Interest. So I think just in order to just keep things fresh and keep things new, we're gonna go ahead and just release 2 new songs. Not gonna say when or anything or what we're planning next for that, but yeah, we are going to the studio to just release a 2-song promo to just kind of fill that and be like, hey, like don't forget about us. Like we just put 2 songs out.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely just gonna be a nice, like Alex said, just a refreshing take on us, and just something to get us by for the till the end of this year.
And it's definitely gonna introduce some new elements, and does get a little. I think we're just getting more in touch of just like our more I guess we're getting more into the touch of like the heavier side of things, because that's always been a big part of our writing. Usually when we're not writing like when we were writing conflict on the complete other side, we're just writing like just nasty, just gross, filthy sounding riffs, and just like now instead of just having that like being in the side, like I just thought like okay, we just thought like okay, what's stopping us from putting that in our music? So we're kind of gonna get a little bit of that.
Very cool. Very cool. Lakuna, you guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're awesome.
thank you.
Thank you, Guys Row.
Anything else, literally?
Shout out to Nathan.
Yep.
Plug yourself.
No problem. Okay, just for like production value, could you say shout out to Rambling Rowgh?
Rambling
Um,
Rowgh.
Actually, let's get it like this. Fuck that. That's kind of corny because that's like more hip hop, huh? Okay, I had like
Fuck
a
it.
very, I had like a hip hop radio thing in my head, but forget that. Just be like, sorry. Oh, goodness. Sorry.
Good boy.
You could say, we are Lakuna, or
We are Lakuna.
I wanted to say it. You know what? Never mind. Just I appreciate the thanks because
Nah,
we got that anyway.
Just plug it in.
I'm just trying to like produce on the fly. It's a lot.
How about like, one of us says like, "We are Lakuna," and then.
But what if we say that like if we're in a frat, and we just be like, "We are Lakuna," and like just all chant it?
Do you want to?
No.
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 Okay.
It was a joke.
With